Hello everyone, this is CJNovo992 and today we're back for another brand new video, and I thought we'd take a wee bit of a break, me and thee, from arguing about what's gone wrong and who is to blame and who isn't to blame for what's gone wrong this season. Instead, I thought we'd argue about who should stay at the club and who should be moved on during the project, the rebuild. Another transfer window has been opened, so follow me over the next couple minutes as we look at this entire first team squad. 33 players are on the books at Rangers, and me and thee are going to share our opinions on who should be a part of the future and who should be moved on as quickly as possible. Aye. It's going to be a busy one. Now, I'll be honest, I have done a video very similar to this in the past, looking at the type of job Clements got in terms of this rebuild, who he should be building, who he has to move away from, and I thought I would just leave it like that, but there has been a couple comments over the last couple of weeks, I think especially free game recaps. I go down in the comment section below, because the transfer window was about to open, we just wanted to see if my opinions had changed on some of these players, has it reverted on other areas, and to see just how far Clements still needs to gut this squad out and build towards. So I thought it was a fun, wee, interesting idea. Again, this is normally the sort of winter break where we've got a wee bit of dead time. This is the type of stuff we usually talk about. It's more of a discussion piece between me and thee, and I really feel like it's the type of time you guys get to go into the comment section below and really share your opinions and try to shape this Rangers squad. So thank you for all the suggestions over the last couple of weeks. We've got this one. We're also going to look down at the injuries. I know we've done that last season. People want to see a comparison to a year on of this and a year on of Beale. The video's coming. It should be out tomorrow. But aye, this one is all about the keep or sell, project or no project. 33 players. So let's go ahead and get into it. Now, starting off as always with the goalkeepers, there is technically 4 goalkeepers in the books, but we're only really going to discuss 3 of them right here. No disrespect to Big Bud, I know he is a laddie that's been on the books for many years. He has sat on the bench a couple of times, but unfortunately don't see him ever really breaking through. That's not really the reputation that he's got. He's never really going to break past that ceiling, rightly or wrongly. I think he's mostly going to be used as the Andy Firth role, if you know what I mean, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I know he's only a 22-year-old laddie, but that's just how I feel. So instead we're going to narrow in on Mason Munn, Liam Kelly and Jack Butland. And we'll start off with Mason Munn, as it might be a name you've not heard of too many times, but he is an 18-year-old Northern Irish goalkeeper who stands about 6'3" with a massive reputation. It was a bit of a coup apparently when we managed to narrow in, bring him in here and sign the long contract that he's got. He is turning heads with his performances. He's still obviously raw. He's not ready to jump in to the deep end, but he has got certainly a high potential, and for me, I feel like we need to just loan this lad. Not keep him in the B leagues and fail another young talented player the same way we've failed young talented players in the past, gatekeeping them and not giving them the opportunity. He needs to go out there and play games despite being only 18, which is obviously basically a baby for a goalie. This guy is really tipped for a lot of big things, and a lot are expected of him. So for me, I didn't think we should just allow him to be swallowed up by the B League and reserve football and youth football for so many years. Let's see if the kid can really take to and help him progress as a goalkeeper. I would love to see a wee cheeky loan for Mason Munn, and it might be a name we hear in a couple years time. Moving on to the next name, we have none other than Liam Kelly, who's obviously technically playing in our goals right now with Jack Butland being injured. And I'll be honest with you, when I first writ this list out and I done my keep sell, I actually done it on the Friday morning after the Old Firm, so there was still a bit of enthusiasm, there's still a bit of excitement. Now there's obviously been another game and Liam Kelly's actually had a major fault for one of the goals, but I thought instead of me just reacting to the negative feeling, my clear frustration that everyone saw after the Hibs game, I'm just going to keep my list the way that it was, because again, I tried to be unbiased as I can. Despite the high of the Old Firm win, I tried to be very fair and honest. So for me, I'm going to keep that promise to each and every single one of these. I'm not going to tweak and change my list based on what happened at Hibs. I'm keeping it the way I wrote it, and for me that means that Liam Kelly is kept at this club. And again, I know he did make that massive blunder at the end of the Hibs game, but for me, he's a number 2. He's on low wages, he ticks the registration box, and he's clearly got leadership qualities as well. You hear that for the players and the staff, but obviously he's been a major character in the likes of the Motherwell dressing room, being a skipper and everything, so he's got a wee bit about him, a wee bit of a presence, and that's needed in a Rangers team that for me doesn't have a voice. So aye, Kelly has got his clear weaknesses, but he is the number 2 right here. But again, the way that Jack Butland's been playing, for me, there's no a clear argument who the number 2 actually is. Faulted for the Hibs goal, but overall he's been very solid, and he still made that fantastic save in the Old Firm just shy of half time that people have seemingly forgot about by now. But for me, Liam Kelly is kept all damn day. The next one becomes very, very interesting, and I think it's one that's maybe changed a lot since we last made this type of rebuild video, because I'm pretty sure I sat here and said keep under any circumstances, because again at that point Jackie Butland was absolutely Superman and inhumane. The clean sheets, big saves, big moments, it was absolutely frightening. Again, in my mind, I'm still remembering the save at Rugby Park, before we ended up folding the league title. It was a ridiculous save in that aspect, and clearly when he is at it and when he's on form, he is an unbelievable goalie. But at the same time, with the reputation that he's got, the price tag that apparently gets branded about regarding this laddie, for me this is slightly changed to keep or sell at the right price, because to me, in my opinion, if we can get the money for Jack Butland, it was apparently branded about, then I think it'd be a very good deal for this football club. But again, I wouldn't be chucking him out the door for the Cantwell Lammers type of money, you know what I mean, for nothing, because he is clearly a good goalie. And maybe, just maybe, if we had a more defensively set and a bit more defensive prediction in front of him, he could return back to what he was previously. Maybe we just need to improve what's in front of him and stop him from being pretty much in a firing range every single game, and maybe Jack Butland will get a bit of his confidence and bounce back as well. So for me, it's a keep or sell at the right price. But moving away from the goalkeepers and getting on to the defence, hopefully you're staying with me in terms of the video and let me know your opinions on keep or sell with these players we're actually mentioning. Aye, let's get in to the defence then, shall we? And we'll start off with the most obvious one, which is obviously going to be James Henry Tavernier, who at my current point of recording is currently injured after sustaining a hamstring injury versus Motherwell, a game that I feel like he played injured the entire time. Sorry, I'm going to be the one that says it. I think we played him, I think we ran him into the ground again, you know what I mean? This is a laddie who is aging out. All the talk is sports science here and sports science here and all these other excuses. For me, we've run this laddie into the ground. Again, it never looked right for the first whistle versus Motherwell, and it's no surprise he then misses a couple of weeks due to a hamstring injury. But that's just how I feel on it. Had a couple of good games, had more bad moments than good so far this season, on his way to playing 27 games in total, in which he has scored 3 goals and grabbed just 6 assists, which is probably a normal stat line, or maybe a great stat line for a right back, but it's not really what we've came to expect from Mr. James Henry, if you will. But aye, I'm kind of beating around the bush here. I think everyone knows where I need to go. I don't think we're going to be selling him in January, and this isn't what this video is about, by the way, so if you are still watching, everyone I say sell, I'm not expecting to go out in January. This is a part of a project, this is a part of the rebuild. You didn't always get everyone moving on in January, but for me, Tavernier at the end of the season must be moved on. Now, it hurt me to say it last time when I made this video a year ago, because I felt like I could see the decline coming of James Henry despite scoring the goals. There were still mad moments, especially defensively, and losing his pace, which is obviously a major part of his game, the legs to get up and down. And for me, I always appreciate what the skipper's done. I think he'll still have some more good moments this season when he does come back into the mixer. Again, his reliability in terms of being able to play a certain amount of games every year has been vital to this club, but he's picked up an injury here. For me, he has been regressing, and for me, it is time to move away from Mr. James Henry after the summer when he gets his testimonial, which he clearly wants. And as we've just mentioned, Tav, I think it's fair to mention Sterling as usually go heart in hand, if you actually will, these days. And for me, this one's a pretty easy keep. Despite suffering what seems to be another injury at the club, I just like Dujon Sterling. I just think he's got a wee bit of everything. And again, the way that our club's run and the way that our club's built, we need the likes of Dujon because he can play everywhere. But I would like to say, I would like to keep him at the club, as he has played 27 games and he has picked up 1 assist during that period. But it's to keep at the club, not as a centre back, because again, his vulnerabilities in the air doesn't really help with our problems not being able to header the ball in the centre back position and deal with set pieces. It needs to be at the right back's position, and again, for me, they go hand in hand with Tav gone and Sterling at right back. Can he prove to be as reliable as Tav could in terms of being able to play an entire season? Maybe no, but for me, Tav goes, that means Sterling goes into the right position, and we finally get to see him get a run at those types of performances rather than being at the centre-back position. So aye, Sterling I think is an easy one, and I think most people would agree it's a keep. Moving away from the right-back position, I know Casemiro's there, don't worry, we'll speak about him in the next minute or two when we get to the loanees part of the old video. But I want to move on to the centre-back position because we have a lot of centre-backs, believe it or not, despite us pretty much playing the guy that puts the cones out versus Dundee, as everyone is either out or suspended. But we'll start off with Leon Balogun. I like Big Balogun, you all know that right here. I was devastated when Gio treated him the way they did, as I was devastated with the way that Gio treated Jermaine Defoe as well. There was a lot of problems in there, but I've always appreciated what Leon Balogun brings to this club. Again, as another one that does struggle with injuries, and I actually said the last time that I feel like because of his injuries towards the end of the last season, it might be time to move on, but now I'm a bit trepidatious to actually go ahead and do that, because again, we keep signing this guy not as a first choice or not even a squad player. We're signing him pretty much as a backup centre back right now, just to be a personality and a leader in the dressing room, yet you still need to play 20-15 games a season because everyone else is either injured or suspended or just playing Pishola, if I'm being honest. So Leon Balogun for me is a keep, simply because we need the laddie, and if he can keep himself to the level, and if he can only play 15-20 games, that's maybe what you're expecting for a 36-37 year old by the time the season actually finishes and we go in to next year. I just like the laddie. I think he understands what the club, he sets standards at the clubs, and for me it's an easy keep. Again, so cheap with the wages, doesn't cost us much, and what we get back, it's probably one of the best deals we've actually done in a very, very long time, given what we give for him and what we actually get in return. I forgot to mention he played 17 games so far this season, which again is still far too high for a guy that's supposed to be a backup in terms of that one. But again, moving on to the next player, we have Mr. John Soapy Suter, and this has been a very love-hate relationship, you know what I mean? Before Cyril Dessers, there was me and John Suter. I really want him to do well, but it frustrates me a hell of a lot, and I think a lot of that's given because I've got a wee bit of a bias towards Connor Golson. But would Connor Golson be any worse than what I've got right now? I'll leave it at that right there. But John Soapy Suter has played 25 games so far this season, and for me has grown into the Rangers shirt, especially over the last couple months. Has his clear vulnerabilities, and for me he's still better when he's in the trenches and he gets up there and headers it. Ironically, we could have done with him versus Hibs, and we could have done with him over the last couple games, but again we've not. But for me, his contract is running out in 2026. I think it is one we need to actually increase, because simply he's got a bit of value, he ticks his Scottish registration box, and for me he's still a good player, and he's one of the few players in this team with the likes of Leon Balogun that can actually win a header. So my opinions have sort of changed over the last couple of years on Soapy. I think he's really getting there to the level, no the greats or anything. I think he is still overrated by a lot of people, but I like Big John, so for me he stays. The next up, we have a guy that was signed to be the partner of John Suter and be the future of this club, or the future centre-back position, and that is Robin Proper. And this one is really damn interesting, because I don't think I'm speaking out of turn here. There is times that Robin Proper looks like a made-up footballer, you know what I mean? A guy dressing up. I feel like I'm being punked like it's Ashton Kutcher in the early 2000s, but then there's times I see him getting up there and having that shithousery, the stuff we heard about 20, but being a wind-up merchant to the centre, actually talking to the strikers and everything, like actually getting in there, he'd shown a wee bit of the bully, hitting the tackles. He's had a couple good games. I think if you look after his last 5 matches, 3 of them has been good, 2 of them has been Robin Proper, if you actually will, and I think that might be his level. But at the same time, as he still just came to the club, he's also struggled with injuries and all that as well. Is he going to be one of these players that takes more than a year to settle at the club and goes on? He wouldn't be the first defender we've signed that struggled in their first season and had some absolutely horrific performances, got the crowd on his back, but eventually overcame that and started to perform as he found his consistency and found his level. I think with the way social media is, and probably guys like myself and all that as well, with what we need to talk about, it really drums up people's bad performances. But this was a common theme when new signings come in at the club at Rangers. I mean, Fernando Rickson was absolutely, he got ripped off in his first game versus Celtic. He was horrific for a lot of games. Papac was dreadful in his first near season as well. He's an absolute punching bag for Alan McGregor. Sometimes it just takes times for these players to settle in and really kick on. Now again, I'm not comparing these laddies and saying that he'll go ahead and become like a Papac, Mr. 7 out of 10, but I do think sometimes we're a little bit too early to want to rip up it and kick these laddies out the club. So for me, it's a very, very soft keep, just to see how he performs going into the end of the season and see if he settles and maybe just plays more of his game rather than this rash attitude. But he really needs to toughen up and adjust to this league and start winning these duels, you know what I mean? He's had a great game versus Celtic, he's had a great game I thought versus Spurs as well, but again, it's the physicality, it's the lone striker it needs to really start getting. So it's a soft keep or sell if we get our money back or more, which we're not going to get. So for me, should we kick him out the door for pennies and accept the loss? Nah, because there's still time for him to dip. So aye, I can imagine yous are shouting at me. I already feel it. I'm going to take a wee sponsor break. Big Proper, by the way, has played 24 games this season with 1 goal, with that being against Celtic, meaning he's only 3 shy of Alfredo Morelos. He's with 25 games left to match it. But moving on from there, let's talk more about centre halves, because believe it or not, we do actually have a hell of a lot of them. And I now go to Leon King, and this is another one who might end up following the same route, and it's one of the reasons why I'm so nervous about a Mason Munn with the reputation and the big contract, or the big contract extension, I should say, and all the expectation. Leon King was the exact same. He was getting scouted for here, there, and everywhere. He was playing Champions League games at 18. He got the big contract extension. A lot was expected of him, but then he just got bombed away for the first team as we changed the manager regime, plans changed, etc. And he's just been rotting away playing in reserve football and youth football and low league football and just sitting there picking up daft wee injuries, playing against boys that are never going to make it as professional football players. And for me, he is a start warning sign, and it's why I want loans for the likes of Munn just to really kick on, because Leon King could have been son, but he's been really stagnant over the last couple of years, and an argument could be made he's had zero improvement since he burst on the scene at 18. But again, I do feel really, really bad, because we're talking about a laddie that's 20 years old with Champions League experience. It's played several games for this football club, you know what I mean? 20 years old, and people talk about him like he's 28 and never going to be better. He's obviously going to be playing versus Dundee with the way that our season's unfolding, with Proper being suspended and the injuries that we have, so he's clearly going to get a start in there. But obviously versus Hibernian, it showed you one of his main faults is the fact that he is just 6 foot. He's not really known for getting in the air, but again, he's a 20-year-old laddie. Can he learn to be a bit more street smart? Can he start learning to block off? Can he start being nastier with the wee clever antics? That's stuff you can pick up, and I do want the best for him. He seems like a great guy. I've actually met him once and that as well, so there is a lot that I want him to succeed. But is he ever going to do it at a Rangers team? Is he the answer to the question that we need? A big nasty SOB that can get up there and header a ball? Maybe no, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm very interested. If you're still watching, Leon King, despite only being 20, despite the experience he's got, do you keep him or do you sell him? I can imagine whatever answer we put in could be changed like this based on how he performs on Thursday when he does go ahead and get a start versus Dundee. For me, again, this is another soft keep, as I'm just interested to see, again, just because he's so young, if he can start getting a wee bit nastier. Stop being so nice, Leon. Stop being so nice. Just get in there, nail folk. Just get in there. No, I'm not saying go out and injure folk or anything, but just and set yourself physically in these games, because he's talented at CDM. He's great with the ball, his feet, all that crap people want these days. But we need somebody a bit nastier, Leon. So let's go ahead and do that. So it's a soft keep for me, or a loan by the time we are all done and dusted. If we go ahead and sign a couple centre-backs this transfer window, and if that, we can move Leon King on loan and give him some first-team football. That's what that laddie needs to improve his game. Moving on to Nasala, Big Clinton. If you actually will, the guy that was signed for AC Milan, we spoke in the summer, that's a massive part of the project, and he's someone that's not had a sniff so far. And I had a wee mention of that in the Hibs video, and some people kind of said, well, he's clearly not ready. But the same is said for Egeman, and Egeman only got the opportunity because he several injuries in front of him. Well, now that door's opened up for Big Clinton as well. Again, going in to Thursday, I am pretty nervous with Leon King and Clinton Nasala playing at centre back. I am a wee bit nervous, right? I'll be honest on that end. But again, this could be the making the lad, so the opinions could change. For me, it's an obvious keep because we signed him for buttons, and he's clearly got high pedigree, playing at the likes of AC Milan and getting to play and learn through that academy. He's got something about him. I just want to see the laddie start playing games, especially when we've been as pish as we've been in the centre-back position all season long. I'm not wanting to see us playing right-backs at centre-back when we've got somebody there that's 6'2", 6'3" that can get up there and header the ball. Let's see I'm playing. Now again, he could look like Bambi on ice on Thursday. Maybe, just maybe he does. But again, I want to see these laddies learn. And it's the same we saw Egeman. Couple rough games here or there, but now he's found his feet. That could be Big Clinton. So I'm very excited to see him play. It's an obvious keep for me. I just want to see him start playing games. One of my little favourites so far this season has been the emergence of Jeff, who again clearly still has his faults, but again we're in project mode, we're in rebuild mode, we're in foundations mode, and this laddie again is playing his first year at this level. That's his first time at anywhere near this type of competitive nature, and for me he's had more good moments than bad. The flip that we talked about previously where he's had more bad than good with the likes of Tavernier and the Propers, this lad for me's had more good moments than bad. And again, the way he's bounced back after that BS sending off versus Dynamo Kiev that could have broke anyone despite only being 20 years old, I think he's got a very big future at this club. I think he's a massive improvement on the likes of Barisic and even Ridvan Yilmaz. Stands 6 foot as well, wins his fair share of headers, which is obviously a touchy subject given what happened at Hibs, but 17 games, 2 assists to his name, and being one of the main bright sparks in our dark season so far. For a long time when Tavernier was struggling with Cherny doing the right, it was Jeff and Barami providing us any type of spark. So I like Big Jeff a lot. For me, this is an easy keep. Next up, we have someone that we just previously mentioned. That is Mr. Ridvan Yilmaz, who's on an absolute emotional rollercoaster over the last couple of weeks that we'll only keep revisiting. But he is a very good player. You know what I mean? He was an improvement on Barisic. He is better defensively than Barisic. He's certainly got something about his game. Again, he played right back better in an Old Firm game than Tavernier's played ever, in my personal opinion. Defensively, that is the way he locked up Maeda. Clearly, he's got a lot of good attributes, but for me, I'm going to keep to what I said the last time I made this video, and that was to sell Ridvan Yilmaz. Now, the reasons and the excuses why I said we should sell him the last time was simply because he was too injury prone. He'd come back for 5 games, he'd be missing for 15, and for me that's too frustrating. Our squad's built too much in players that are here for 10 games and out for 20, right? It's far too common in our team, and that was the reasoning. Nothing to do with his playing or his play style, it was just simply he's far too injury prone, and there's actually interest constantly for Turkey, and he's constantly linked with a return back to the old motherland, right? So he's constantly linked. That was my reasoning right there. Well, for me, it stays obviously to sell, that's what I've said, but there is other reasons for me now that I continue to watch and I see where we're struggling and I see our weak points. Now we've moved on the likes of Goldson, now we're really weaker in the air right now. For me, and I know I'm going to sound like an absolute dinosaur right there, but just stay with me for a second. I know this is going to sound absolute mental, but he's just too wee, ladies and gentlemen, to play in a defensive position for Rangers in Scottish football. I know I sound stupid right now, but our biggest weaknesses is our aerial presence. That is why we cannot perform away from hold. We struggle with balls into the box, crosses for set pieces, long throws, everything like that. And for me, we can't limp into these games with somebody in the back four that stands at 5'6", in my personal opinion, right? He's a great wee player. I know he does very well. I know he's done very good versus Maeda, but Maeda and Celtic aren't the big aerial threat. Look at the other games. He's basically a man down, and we cannot afford to be a man down. We need everybody actually up there. So I am going to sound like an ancient dinosaur shouting at the moon right now. We need a bit of height and physicality in the back line, because I'm sick of watching my team get bullied constantly time and time again. Good wee player, does this, can play well in Europe, play well versus Celtic that again aren't dominant with the balls in the box, but we play in Scottish football, and I just want people at the club to realise that. I want to see my team get back to dominating games in Scottish football and winning league trophies time and time and time again, but our squad is constantly built for Europe rather than Scottish football, and for me Ridvan Yilmaz is the perfect example of that. And I know I'm probably sounding like an absolute madman right here, but I would sell him for that as well. Not only is he incredibly injury prone in that aspect, but for me he just doesn't tick a box we need in our backline. We can have small players in the midfield and small players up front, all that stuff. I'm not saying it all needs to be big, strong, tall guys or anything like big athletes, but in a defensive position we need to fix what our weakness is, and that answer isn't Ridvan. So for me, why would we keep him? But again, moving away from maybe the most controversial one in the video, because I know everyone likes him because he knew played very well versus Celtic, but again, we don't play Celtic every week. We don't play the same style as Celtic play every week. It's the long balls. That's what he cannot deal with, clearly, in my personal opinion. But moving away from the man who's played 15 games and got 1 assist so far this season, there's a couple of laddies we're going to cover very quickly. The first one's going to be Robbie Fraser, who's actually joined Livingston on loan. Brilliant move for the laddie, and it's talking about Leon King, and it's talking about Munn. I think that's a great move from him. Go out there, playing at hard conditions, toughen up Robbie, come back a bit of a nastier player, as Martindale will dig you out for that. He'll get you into that mindset. He'll turn you in to a tougher fullback, and maybe he could potentially be an important player, or at least a rotational player coming in over the next couple of years. But it's a smart move for me. Adam Devine is another one that was tipped for here, there and everywhere, but very similar to the way I feel like about Ridvan and everything like that. Just not big enough to make an impact in your team. So for me, it's a sell or a loan. But again, it does tick a very important box in terms of registration, and our team is on the knees for registration, so I imagine he'll stay in and around the building. There is going to be a name that you've probably forgot right now, right? Despite all our madness at the centre-back position, remember Ben Davies? Yeah, he's on loan at Birmingham. No, he's not playing well. Well, he's playing alright here, there, and everywhere. He's had some good games, had some more Ben Davies games. But again, even the potential recall is that I thought to myself it would be the most Rangers thing in the world to have the fan base screaming, we need a centre-back. And Rangers did the cheap option and be like, let's return Ben Davies. But again, Ben Davies is a symptom of the problem that we've got. He's another one that can't heed the football. It's another one that can't deal with the physical presence of Scottish football. So we need to figure out what to do with Ben Davies at the end of his loan. But I'm not including him in the 33 list because he is out on loan right now to Birmingham, and he's been that way since the start of the old season, right? So, I just wanted to mention Ben Davies because everyone seemingly forgot about him. The last player that we're going to talk about from the defensive position is Casawiro, or as we like to call him lovingly right here on the channel, Mr. Nana, who's actually always played well in his 14 games for his club. You can't think of one single bad performance from Nana Casawiro. In fact, his first start was a man of the match performance out of position away to Malmo when we couldn't kick our own arse. He shut that one down. I seen that in with my own very eyes from the old Malmo stands watching that game. He was simply incredible. They were terrified. His power, his pace, he certainly looked like it could have been an answer, but again, he's another one that suffered a major injury. He was playing with under 21s of Dutch football. Again, I'm going to say more like a dinosaur here, but there's just too many international games, especially under 21s and under 18s. I'm like, you know what I mean, just stay with your clubs. Like, again, I know, I'm old, right? I'm letting it go right there, but it's a massive blow to him and possibly his future at his Rangers career. I would like to keep him, but potentially it could be too much. He's probably been another one that is not going to be here at the end, at the start in next season. But I'd be interested to you, if you are still watching, would you like to see Nana Casawiro brought back to this club? Did he show you enough during those 14 games, or has the major injury scared you off as you're just too beat down with players carrying injuries every single season? That's us for the defence. Couple keeps, couple sells. It's your standard. But moving on to the very bloated midfield, but a midfield that we should cut through pretty quickly in terms of this video. First up, we have Nico Raskin. I'm not going to waste anyone's time right here. I really like this guy. I think not only is he a good player, I think he's got the potential to be a great player, and that's always a risk with these guys, but he is still just 23 years old. I think we all forget about that. He's not in his prime. He's not 27, 28, 29 when we expect him to be the best of what he can actually be. He is just 23 years old, who's also battled injuries this season, had to come back out from the cold, took the captain's armband, showed me leadership qualities, phenomenal versus Spurs, phenomenal versus Nice, phenomenal versus Celtic. He's been very good this season in my opinion. Again, still rough around the edges in some aspects, but still only 23 years old, so for me it's a massive keep, and I'd actually keep that armband on him when Dan leaves at the end of the season. Another easy keep for me is going to be Mr. Connor Barron, who's played 30 games in total with 2 assists to his belt. He sort of fell away over the last couple of weeks and everything like that, but that's simply because of the performances of Raskin. But for me, he's another one, and he's one of these guys that I look in these games of football. Away to Hibs, for instance, when Diamandi was blown, I was sitting begging for Barron to come on, because at least he can run and put in a challenge. Now again, he's not really the tallest, but he puts himself about, he makes himself bigger, he goes ahead and wins challenges, and he's got that nasty part of the game that this Rangers team sometimes actually lacks. So it's an easy one for me. It's a clear keep. Diamandi is a bit more of an interesting one, as he's played 30 games, he's got 3 goals and 3 assists, which is not too bad, but when you consider the price tag and the expectations that was on him and the goal scoring threat that he's had in his career, it's not really bursting the scenes. And for me, he flatters to deceive, in my opinion. He has more frustrating games than good games, but for me that's maybe because I hold him up to a higher standard than we're actually seeing, you know what I mean? Sometimes his beautiful skill and his wee turns and his wee drop of the shoulder is like a reincarnation of Glenn Kamara, but then you remember we spent about 30 times as much on Diamandi as we did on Glenn Kamara, so the expectations have to go up clearly the day, and there is times Diamandi looks great and he looks like our best players, but then there's time he's absolutely anonymous in a Rangers team, especially the physical games. And for me, the last 2 games are the perfect example. brilliant, sensational versus Celtic. Ran them ragged in the middle of the park. But again, what are Celtic? They're not a physically demanding squad. What was he like versus Hibs, which again we faced 99% of the season? For me, he fell away. For me, he got bullied yet again. So he's another one that needs to toughen up and really adjust to what this league's actually got to offer. But for me, I'm not going to be quick to sell a Diamandi because again, there is flashes, as sometimes he is. Our best players, he's clearly got ability. He might just be one we need to be a wee bit more patient for and just toughen up in that way. So it's a keep for me, unless we get offered stupid money, which we're obviously no going to get, and then I'd cash in on him. But for me, he is one that I want to see more of, so I'd keep and just get stronger. Bailey Rice is next up. He's only had one substitute appearance so far this season in the Europa League, and it wasn't exactly great in my opinion. He did give away a free kick that did result in a goal, but for me he's another one of these laddies that we are currently failing. He broke into the team under Michael Beale, then he's fell away and he's just wasting away, stagnant as hell, which is what we have failed these young laddies for far too long, and maybe failed the project of this club of when we got relegated back down to the divisions. Maybe we should have done these younger players. Maybe we should have focused on that instead of giving the journeymen all these crazy money. We can keep going over spilled milk, but for me, we still make the same mistakes. Bailey Rice was talked up more than Lennon Miller. Bailey Rice was expected to be a better player than Lennon Miller. Now Lennon Miller's worth all this crazy money, and Bailey Rice for me is what? A complete afterthought and just someone in the background be like, oh aye, remember he was supposed to be good. It's a worry, but he's still incredibly long. He's still got a hell of a lot of time. What he needs is game time. He's not going to get it at Rangers. So get that laddie out on loan in January and get this laddie playing real top flight football versus professionals who's made it, no sitting in reserve in B leagues, because it's no helping nobody. Cole McKinnon, Mr. Player of the Year, doing at the reserve league and youth league and everything. That's someone who's been impressive pretty much every season he's played for Rangers, going through the levels and going through his progression. Has had one appearance for us so far this season, a substitute, in fact 2 substitute appearances where he's looked pretty decent, and he's definitely got a wee bit of sun. But at the same time, is he ready to burst on the scene at Rangers? Is he going to get the opportunity? No. So he fills the same bracket as a Bailey Rice and everything like that. Again, he might be kept in the club because we need these laddies for the Scottish registration, but that's because we didn't build our teams properly and build a team for Scottish football. So we kill these young laddies' careers by just having them there as a number on a stat sheet. Go and give that laddie an opportunity to learn. He's been brilliant every year, and he's one of these guys that's came through the academy, came through the age brackets, and just been absolutely sensational. Player of the Year awards, and pressing here and pressing here, pressing here. He deserves the chance to play football. So aye, he's another one for me. Get him out there and get him alone. If you want a guy to tick a stat sheet, bring somebody else up in the youth levels nowhere near actually ready. Cole's at that level now to get ready to play some football so he can kick on his career. Get him out on loan and see if he can take the next level. Someone that unfortunately has not took the next level in a Rangers shirt is Mr. Alex Lowry. And the case of Alex Lowry is probably going to stay with me forever, because he is one that when he was on the park looked like he could play for us. And I think if you actually think of every game he's played for us, he's either scored or assisted, or he's had a moment where he stood it and he's offered actually something. But there's clearly something. There's a missing piece to the puzzle of Alex Lowry, because on the park, what we've seen, he's probably good enough to be in and around the team, especially the garbage we've had to watch over the last couple of years. But we're not seeing him there, so there's a missing piece, there's a missing part of this story behind the scenes that we are not getting to know. And I know there's 1,001 rumours of what it is. It's this, it's this, it's this, it's this. This is why it is. I'm not going to speculate in any of the actual rumours. All I'm going to say is, when I've seen him on the park, he seemingly has been good enough to at least get a game or two, but we're not seeing him anywhere. So there's something gone wrong, and there's something not happening. Is it a Ravel Morrison type of thing, where he's not working hard enough behind the scenes and he's not going to push it, and in 10 years time he's going to be sitting on podcasts being full of regret and disappointment that he's no push himself? Maybe, ladies and gentlemen, or maybe it's just no meshed, and maybe there's just something that's happened behind the scenes that we don't know. But Alex Lowry, for me, it is time to sell, if I'm honest, because if it's not happened now, it's never ever going to happen, because when he's been on the park, he's been good enough. There's still a wee bit of a buzz around Lowry. There's still some people apparently interested in him, so it might be just one of these, you've got to cut your losses. He'll maybe go to a club and start playing well and say, what on earth are we doing? But he's not getting a sniff at Rangers. So what's he doing here? Let's talk about some players that actually play then, shall we? And I want to talk about our boy, Hadji, and it makes me so damn happy, because when I made this video last time, I said I'd keep him, I'd play him, I'd keep him, I'd play him, but again, he's no getting played. So we have to sell him because it's just a shame the way we're treating the laddie, and I'm so thankful now. All these months later, possibly, is it a year? No, it's all these months later, almost a year, I get to sit here and say that Hadji is one of our better football players. Now, again, he was just to have given a penalty kick away. Now that I've seen it back in several other incidences and read the official rules, it shouldn't have been a penalty because the player's actually kicking Hadji in that aspect. And you think of the Dessers goal that got chopped off versus Celtic and all these other, the Ryan Kent penalty that was reversed, and the other incidents we've seen of that, it shouldn't have been. But I can't blame the referee on the day. I know everybody wants to, because for me, I thought it was a penalty. But when you see it back slow-mo, something should have been done, but I'm sure it'll be another apology and another mistake given in the end, the SFA's monthly VAR reports. But moving away from that, this one's a keep all damn day. 12 games, 2 goals, 4 assists. This man is a difference maker. This man is a creative player in a team that has been void of creativity the majority of the season. It took us reaching in to the old box of toys and pulling them back in from the cold to see a wee bit of magic. So for me, it's keep. Even though I know a lot of people want to sell him now because he's got a bit of hype, but I just like him. He seemingly gets it, so aye. It's a keep. But speaking of creativity, that means we move on to Barami, and just like the other mostly good players in our team, it's going to be very short. This one is a keep for me. 28 games, couple goals, couple assists. Again, he's more of a moments player. Right now, he's not really adjusted to the physicality of Scottish football, but his selfless nature and the work he's done versus Celtics, been impressive, and I'm sure he'll start to really gel and adjust and become more impactful as time goes on. Still just new to the door. I'm not really the big fan of chopping players up within 6 months of moving to a new country, a new league and a new culture, so it does take time sometimes, but he showed me more good moments than bad. So for me, I'm fine with keeping Barami, and I think he's going to be a very good player over the next year or two. Someone that was tasked with the role that Barami done in the Old Firm but simply couldn't get anywhere near it is next Mr. Tom Lawrence. And Lawrence is such an interesting weird case because again, as a player, brilliant on his day, and a lot of the dark spells we had at the start of the season, Tom Lawrence was carrying this club on her back, whether you like that or no. Big goals, moments, big goals created, Hibs, blah blah blah. The goals that he scored were absolutely sensational and vital to even keep us at the level we are at so far this season. On the park, he's done it, but for me, despite playing the 15 games, despite having 5 goals and 2 assists, which is great stats, 7 goal contributions in 15, for me, he is another symptom what's wrong in this club. It's just too much wages for what we get back. He's not able to stay fit, he's not able to stay injury free, and he's one of the main issues with the way we have built our team. There's so many guys on massive wages that can't play 30 games a season, and that is never ever going to bring success. So despite me thinking he is a good player and he has had some great moments, I hold my hands up on it. I'm saying the same thing I said the last time I made this video. We must sell Tom Lawrence because what we get back isn't worth what we are paying him in terms of his wages, and what that strangles out the wage bills and restricts us in other areas. For me, we've got his replacement already, not only in terms of Hadji, who was already here. They took reduced terms to play for his club, but Barami is Tom Lawrence's replacement in every single aspect. He's a better player, he's a more mobile player, and he can do the defensive stuff that Tom Lawrence simply cannot do anymore with the massive injuries he's had in his knees, Achilles, hamstrings, etc., calves, everything that he's had over the last couple of years. For me, it's a clear sell. Whether we can move him on in January, probably not, because he is still injured, but he is one that we need to move on this summer and stop the moments where he does score screamers and get lost on it. The wages just aren't worth it. And not worth it actually leads me to another player who was pretty much brought in to play the same position that's failed so badly that he just sometimes plays a bit everywhere in the middle of the park, and that is none other than Kieran Dowell. Now, I know he was fantastic in the career mode, and we've got some memories if you know, you actually know, but this is, again, everything I've just said about Lawrence, everything I've said about some of the wages we've got piling out of this club and not getting it anywhere near back. Kieran Dowell is the perfect example of that. I was already sort of out on Kieran Dowell, but when I seen him sitting like here, who's want to take a penalty versus Celtic? This is Kieran Dowell and Dessers. Do you see that? Aye, that's not what I need in a Rangers team, especially on the wages they laddies are actually on. This one is simple, this one is easy. Get Dale out as soon as possible. Just good luck getting anybody to take the wages that he's on and the contract that he's got left. He's going to be one that's going to be floating around the background, because who else is taking him, ladies and gentlemen, and willing to pay that were stupid enough to pay. And waste of wages takes me to the next player that we need to talk about, and that's going to be none other than Rabbi Matondo. Now, I'll be honest, I was a part of the Rabbi redemption because I wanted to see a wee bit more. I think he was too harshly treated, right? Wingers can frustrate, wingers can frustrate. As long as wingers are fit enough to play, they should be given an opportunity to play. But this lad, he's injured every 10.5 minutes, and the wages we are paying him is, again, killing this club week in and week out and stopping what we could do, and even limiting the likes of Clement. You know where I am with Clement. I'm not going to keep going round about it, but these types of guys with the wages being ripped away is tying that laddie's hands behind his back, and he's simply not worth the money, right? Despite having goals, despite having a couple of assists here and there, despite having a couple of important performances, he is nowhere near gave us back, or nowhere near worth what we're paying him a month. So for me, he is one that must be moved on, whether it is in January or whether it is in the summer. We simply need to get that wage off the book. The last midfielder we're going to talk about is Ross McCausland, and I've been going back and forth in this one, right? Because I've been thinking he's no kicked on, he's no improved, he is what he is. But then again, I remember his age, and I remember some of the moments and the flashes of what he can do, and I'm constantly toiled between. So for me, I'd actually think about potentially loaning out a McCausland just to see in a full season playing at a club what's he like, because 5 minutes here, 10 minutes here, this random start here which he gets ripped off cause he's barking against fully fit defenders isn't doing this laddie any favours, despite again scoring a great goal versus Malmo. Again, I dived about that stadium, bouncing, absolutely loving the goal they actually scored. But again, those massive moments are few and far between. What's more common is the blunders, the 1v1s that he's hitting over the bar, the missed opportunities, the poor crossing, and that's what he really needs to narrow out his game, and he's not going to get that game time to kick on. So for me, it's got to be a loan, or if there is a bid coming in, you'd think about moving this lad on. Genuinely, that's how I feel. I'd keep him with a loan, but if there's no loan option in there, is he going to break into the team? Nah. So for me, it needs to be something we actually look at. But again, I know it is relatively low wages, and he ticks a box, and he does fill in a role here, there and everywhere, and he can run for the last 10 minutes at defender. So I understand why he's there. He can still kick on. But I think for the development of him to ever make it truly into a Rangers starting 11, he's got to play 35 plus games consecutively. He's got to learn the physicality of this league. He needs to toughen up, and that's only going to come by a loan, or he's going to be another Josh McPake. He's going to be another Alex Lowry who's going to be kicked at the door in a couple of years. Now, I know this video's gone on far too long, and I apologise about that one, but I'm just trying to cover and discuss every player fairly in the video. So we've got some attackers left, and we're going to do this one a bit more rapid fire. First up, we have Zach Lovelace, who's again another one I really like. When I see him play, he's got something. Again, he is fuller in a development ahead of a Ross McCausland. The only problem is this laddie cannot stay fit. He's closer to Kamal Roof than he is Peter Livenkrantz doing that wing, you know what I mean? Because he's fast, he's direct, he can score goals like Peter, but he can't stay fit like a Kamara, and that's the big frustration with Zach Lovelace, because I think if you gave him the amount of games that I like him McCausland does, we'd be talking about a completely different conversation, and Lovelace would be right up here. But unfortunately, just like so many football players, his body's been holding him back, and I hate that, and I think it's such a cruel part of football. I really like him. I would like to keep him just to see if we could give him another crack at it, but I don't see it actually happening anymore, if I'm being brutally honest with you. And he is one I could see going ahead and leaving the football club, whether it is at the end of the season or in January. But maybe playing these hammer throwers and getting injured and all these B-League players, getting these 250 challenges now, aren't doing this lad any favour. Maybe loan him for the next 6 months, see if there's anything there, and then think about keeping him at the club if he can stay fit on that aspect and how he takes to the next level, because he's certainly got a wee bit son. You didn't make your professional debut at 16 for Millwall, doing in that league if you can't handle a bit of a challenge. But again, maybe it's been too much too soon, and he's struggling with injury, so it's an unfortunate one for Lovelace. He's another one I'd like to see you going loan. Cortez is next up, having played 6 games in total so far this season, as he struggled completely with injuries, barely showing any of the glimpses what he showed last season when we initially brought him in on loan, fell in love with him and spent the ridiculous money we did on him. Have we got a return on investment? Nowhere near it so far. But again, he is one that could just be going through a rough time with injuries and could kick on over the next couple of years. So this is now rip up the plan and sell him for 50k to a random team or anything like that. It's keeping him at the club and seeing if he can kick on and start getting a bit of consecutive game time. Because again, Rabi's not going to do it down on the left. Could Cortez? He's shown last season he's got something We just need to see it. Now, you'll be thankful to know the length of the video will be cut drastically as we're talking about two players that are very, very simple and easy for me. First one up, we have Danilo, who's got 15 games, 7 goals and 2 assists. Again, battled back from injury. He's got a ridiculous goal-to-game ratio. Bit rash, bit Novo-esque, if you will. But I like Danilo a lot. He stays at this football club, and I think his partnership with Egeman could be something, if we're brave enough to really stick with it, could be potentially something that leads this club to success one day, hopefully very, very soon. Very simple for me, as is the next one, Mr. Egeman, who is simply a revelation. 22 games, 11 goals and 2 assists so far for Egeman, and considering the way that he was hauled off in his first couple of starts, it's a very impressive ratio, including scoring a perfect hat-trick in his most recent game, which again is probably a summarise of where we are as a team, that a perfect hat-trick isn't enough to win a game in a May at Rangers Football Club. It would have been for a hell of a lot of other Rangers teams, but not this one, unfortunately, under Phil Clement. But again, Egeman, absolutely sensational. The scouting of Coppin to bring this laddie in to the club, he's ridiculous, he's just talented. He's special. So like Danilo for me, it's an easy keep, and it's one that we wrap our arms around and hold on for as long as we actually can. Now, where I was happy there talking about two players I've got a lot of time for and I like a hell of a lot, we now need to talk about Cyril Dessers, and it's a sell. It's a sell. 30 games, 12 goals, 4 assists isn't the worst stats in the world, but thankfully football isn't played on paper, it's played on the surface, and you get to watch the games. I've done a complete 180 now, because last time I said keep because he's had a very good first season at the club. He could kick on, he could become more than this, but I've been very frustrated about him for the last couple of months after starting the season off pretty well with the spitting the dummy out here and there in that cup final thing. I'm sorry, I know I keep going back in there. Oh, he was 6. Come on. Does anybody truly believe that? Do you know what I mean? I don't know. And maybe it is just me, but I've got no time for it. I feel like your centre forward that takes penalties for his country should be in one of the top 5 to take one in a cup final versus your biggest and deepest rivals, with the history and the success of the club on an even keel. Both of the trophies sitting there. You need your number 9 to step up. Your number 9 never. So I'm done. So I move Dessers on as soon as possible, especially on the wages this man is actually on. It'd be one in January that you have to try to get ready, and I feel like once again he holds a keys to a lot of what we can do in the transfer market. If he does leave, we can then maybe look at bringing other people. I think he's a vital cog in the machine of any work getting done in January. If he does stick around and reject another move like he did to Greece in August, then hopefully we move on the next August. But I'm just done. I'm sorry. I'm done. The next player that we need to mention is Mr. Czerny, who has 30 games, he has 10 goals and 7 assists, but it's more his performances. I know he had that wee rough spell when he first broke into the team, but I think he's just, when we are good, it's usually behind Czerny. Czerny's our most dangerous player. Egeman is special, but when we give it to Czerny, the arse gets off seats, and I think he's a very, very good football player. I would love to keep him, but I feel like he's going to be another Sima. I think he's going to be another Tillman. I think he's going to be one of those players that we fall in love with on loan, but we do not bring back to the club. Now, if you are rating them between Sima, Tillman and Czerny, where do they all go? I'd still put Tillman above, then Czerny, then Sima, in my opinion. That's the way I would rank them, and I think Tillman's career at PSV has shown everyone what he actually is capable of, but I really like him. Fills a massive role that's been badly needed. The right wing position became almost a myth at this club, but now it's Czerny's position. Nobody gets a sniff in it, and every time we sub him off, the standard falls through the floor. So I would love to keep Czerny, but I don't think we can actually afford to. Which, if you take a step back and you look at all the numbers and all the conversation points, meaning I would keep 25 of the playing squad, which might be a surprise to a lot of people, and selling 8 in total. But again, I've tried to be realistic in that. I feel like if I was just thinking with the old heart, I could rip up a lot of these players and cut that in half, you know what I mean? But I know that's not the way it's going to be. I know there's still projects there. I know there's still maybes on some of the players we signed this summer and some of the questions that's there. But I feel like that is what I would do with the squad, or what I think Rangers will do. But those are the 8s for me. And for anyone that's still watching, I want your 5 non-negotiables, right? Because we've had a wee bit of fun here. We've looked at everyone. But I want your 5 non-negotiables. Either that's keeps or that's sales. For me, it's going to be all sales. Non-negotiable number 1, selling Kieran Dowell. Non-negotiable number 2, selling Robbie Matondo. Non-negotiable, sorry, number 3 is selling Cyril Dessers. See the wages that is freed up with just the 3 of them, especially when you sprinkle in a Tom Lawrence into there. That is ridiculously important for our club, and the money we could be saving or reinvesting elsewhere in to this playing squad is absolutely terrifying. And my last and final non-negotiable, which isn't just for January, it's obviously in the summer, it's unfortunately moving away from Mr. James Henry Tavernier. That's also a massive, massive wage at this club. But I didn't put him in the same bracket as my other frustrations with the other four. And I feel like that's important to mention because, again, I'm still a wee bit of a Tav fanboy. Just everything's got its time. It's time to move on for the laddie anymore. I feel like he has ran his race. So that is my 5 non-negotiable. That's the 5 players I feel like need to leave the football club in either January, not Tavernier, of course, and then in the summer we need to get rid of at this point if Clements' project, the Clements rebuild, is ever going to be a success. What about you? Let me know. It could be a Czerny keep, it could be a Casemiro keep, it could be these types of players. You can let me know down there in the comment section below, but hopefully I've answered and covered a lot of your thoughts and your questions you've had on me regarding this playing squad. That's it. What about you? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down there in the old comment section below. And as always, I've been CJ92. Thank you so much for watching and bye.